If it's really goodbye, I can't stop you. I know. Don't go. Don't go, Sally. Don't go. Don't go, Sally. Don't go, Sally. Don't go. I don't know why I'm feeling all musical theater tonight. Hello, it's your boy Cream Diggler of the Soulful Cream podcast coming solo tonight. I had a little something on my heart I wanted to share with my lovely listeners, our listeners of the Soulful Cream podcast. Um, I was thinking about people, people taking your energy, and how can we make sure that we are protecting our peace, right? Because sometimes you can't help what's going to come at you, who's going to come at you, even when people have the best of intentions, sometimes they suck your energy. And sometimes you have no choice but to deal with them all the time. Not all the time can you remove yourself from the situation. So, that is what I would like to talk with you about today. Protecting your peace when you can't say no. Here at the Soulful Cream podcast, if you're a fan of the podcast, a listener, we talk about everything. And sometimes it's pop culture, sometimes it's politics, sometimes it's, gay stuff, which we talk about a lot of gay stuff, a lot of black and Mexican stuff. That's what we do. Um, but we also try to do some positive, some self help, and that doesn't mean that we have it all figured out. We are all people working through this thing called life, and we just have some thoughts, that we want to share. That has, I think something that I've gotten pretty good at is protecting my peace. So I am coming at this from a place of, I don't know, want to use the word authority, but I'm going to say authority. Okay. Um. So even though have been pretty good at it, I will say maybe I wasn't quite sure how to articulate it or how to explain it to others. Uh, so I had to really sit with myself and think about it for a minute. And so here's some things that I came up with through thinking and looking at what therapists and counselors have said about this idea. And this is kind of what I have come up with based on my looking around. Now, the main gist of this, and this is not going to take long. This is going to probably be a podcast that's under 15 minutes. It's going to be a short listen for you today. Uh, the main thing you want to do is to control what you can control. Sounds simple enough, but it is this idea that we don't focus and put all of our energy on the stuff, on people, trying to control people, right? What we do focus on is how we react to people. So when someone comes rushing into the office full of adrenaline and energy and their eyes are all big and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is going on." Well, what do you do? Probably if you have any kind of empathy, the first thing you might do is your heart rate might increase, right? And that's okay because that's natural. But when you see and realize what your body is doing, we're going to breathe. Just remember to breathe and not hold your breath and just stay in control of yourself, right? That's kind of an example of that. Stay in control, stay in yourself. Even if people are running around like the chickens with their heads cut off in front of you, you stay in yourself, right? That's what we want to do. And of course, through all of this, we're going to set some boundaries. But when I say set boundaries, I I want to talk about it in the sense that you can't say no to the person. You can't remove yourself from a situation. So what are we doing when we can't remove ourselves from a situation? That's what this is about. This episode. It's about how can we maintain our peace when we cannot remove ourselves from the situation. So, setting boundaries, as I said. Now, how do you do this? We set our boundaries through having a clear intention or establishing one. So, you're talking to someone and you have to figure out, okay, well, what exactly do you want to accomplish in this conversation? Of course, there's less clinical ways to say that. You could say it by, um, well, so what can I do to help? Right? What would you like me to do? What do you want me to try to solve this for you or help you or work with you to come up with something? Or do you just want me to listen? Find out where your position is they want you to play in this conversation so that you can know how to use your energy. Because maybe they don't want you to try to figure it out. They just want you to listen. Then you know there's a different level of investment, right? If you know what the expectation of the interaction is. And that may take practice. It probably will take practice if you're not used to asking what the intention of the conversation is, but you really have to if you want to protect your peace, if you want to protect, not have being felt like you have to take on the anxiety that someone else is bringing to you. So next, you asked what they need of you. Ultimately, you also need to know that even though you know what they need from you now, you still have the right to take a pause, to pause the conversation, and don't let them just monologue at you and just give you all this energy. Maybe pause it and go, okay, well, this is what I'm hearing. This is what I hear that you this is how I understand. This is what I think you want me to do. Or even maybe saying, hey, why don't you calm down for a second? It's even okay to say to someone, you seem really upset right now, and I do have a couple of things to do. Well, why don't you let me take some time to finish these things, and you go and cool off, or probably a better term than saying telling someone to cool off. You go and think about it. You seem really upset. You go and calm down just a little bit, relax a little bit, um, go and gather yourself, think of the right words to say. This is something you might have to practice clearly if you're not used to talking this way. And use this opportunity to pause if you feel like the person is giving you so much that you feel like you're being zapped or that your own anxiety is rising. Okay. And that could be as long as you need it to be. It could be, hey, can you come back in 5 minutes? It could be, hey, can we talk about this tomorrow? It just depends on you and your needs at this point, because even if you are trying to be there for someone, you still have to respect your own boundaries and where you are in the situation. Now, sometimes what will happen, the communication may stray. Someone may go off on tangents. I have a habit of letting people go off on their tangent, and I really have to work on. Oh, And I'm always looking for that end, right? Like, okay, it's like double dutch. And you're thinking, okay, is this the moment where I can get them back on track? Oh, go here. Okay, okay. So what I heard you say when you first came in was that such and such and such was the issue. Is that what you were still saying? And then we act to move accordingly to try to get us back to the place. Because once again, you don't want to be a dumping ground for someone. And I think ultimately what you have to do in this space is let go of pleasing people and try to stay focused on what is the issue? What is the issue that we are trying to handle in this moment? And those are some of the really simple things to try to get at when we're thinking about keeping our peace, protecting our peace in the midst of all of this energy and anxiety that may be coming our way from other people, right? So let's just do a quick recap before we continue on. So we talked about controlling what we can control, knowing our boundaries, knowing what the intention is of the conversation, knowing what is needed of you, and ultimately being able to feel free to set a pause moment if you need to, whether that's for 5 minutes or a day. And if the communication strays, don't be afraid to get it back on track. And of course, also letting go of pleasing other people. That's a big thing because you maybe, if you're a fixer, if you have that kind of fixer energy, that may be something that you're trying to do. If you are someone who's just a big listener, you may tend to be a dumping ground for people's emotions. You have to know when you have reached your limit in the moment and be comfortable with telling someone, enough. You know, you do have to be comfortable in doing that, and as in setting your boundaries and protecting your peace. And we're talking about protecting your peace when you can't remove yourself from a situation, because ultimately, what you would do, and even I don't, unless you're tied down to a chair, you could ultimately walk out of a room um, and remove yourself from the situation. But I'm saying if you found yourself in a situation where it just felt not like the best choice to leave, right? You get what I'm saying? Because in the end, you also will have to find ways to decompress from this. And when you decompressing from someone bringing all this energy to you, whether that's through the gym, through working out, through meditation, through your faith, there needs to be some way in which you decompress and um, find yourself and recenter, right? Uh, I have several ways where the way I do it. It's lots of lots of TV. Sometimes it's just listening to music. Sometimes it is going to the gym. Sometimes it could be just decompressing with my partner. You know, you got to find your thing, especially after a long work day where you may couldn't leave. So I'm Cream Diggler, and this has been a mini episode of the Soulful Cream podcast. Our episodes typically are released now on Apple, Spotify, and now YouTube. We do both audible and visual episodes of the podcast. You can see the visuals on Spotify or on our YouTube channel, which is at Soulful Cream Podcast, or at the Soulful Cream Podcast on YouTube. And you can follow us at Soulful Cream Podcast on Instagram. We have a Twitter too, but we really don't use it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. And I hope you'll join us in a few days on Monday when we release our 43rd episode. Yeah. Of the Soulful Cream Podcast. Thank you. Bye.